Okay, YouTube, I was asked by a gentleman if I would make a video showing the setup procedures on the MEC 600 Junior Old Style press on each station, and I told him that I would be happy to do so. If you're going to load shotgun shells with a MEC 600 Junior, you are going to need to keep a few tools handy. And to set one up, you're going to need a 7/16 wrench. You're going to need a 1/2 inch wrench. You're going to need a crescent wrench. You're going to need a robust screwdriver, flat blade. You're going to need a set of Allen keys. You're going to need either a good set of channel lock pliers or a good set of vice grips. And you will need a measuring device of some sort, a tape measure, a scale that I happen to have here. Okay, first of all, so we'll begin with stage one, setting up the old style MEC 600 Junior press. I guess more than setting up, we need to, these presses are designed to load 2 3/4 inch or 3 inch shells. You can get a kit to load 3 1/2 inch, but the first thing that we want to do, if you'll notice that there are 2 holes here and here on the base of your press, and if you look inside this one hole, I know you can't see it on the video, but you'll see a 1/2 moon of the other hole that's on there. So you'll know that you're in the bottom hole of the column and in the bottom hole of the base. If that's locked down tight, then you're set up and ready to load 2 3/4 inch shells. If you take this bolt out, raise it up and put it into this hole, you'll then be set up to load 3 inch shells. So we're going to keep it set up for 2 3/4 inch for this demonstration. Okay, the first stage right here, if you have the press facing you, it'll be the back stage on the right is your deprime and resize stage. And what you're going to need to work on this stage is you're going to need a 7/16 wrench, a set of channel locks, pliers or vice grip pliers, either one, and a crescent wrench or a larger wrench. I think I think a 17 or a 19 millimeter. 19 millimeter I think will fit it, but I don't know what it's an English size, and I honestly don't know what it is off the top of my head. So what we're going to do is you have your guide and your bushing. Now these are all gauge specific. For a 12 gauger it'll be bigger, for a 10 gauge even bigger, for a 28 gauge smaller, for 10 gauge it'll be even smaller. So make sure that you have the right gauge guide for the gauge that you're setting up. We're going to be setting up for 20 gauge. So this goes in here like this, and you're going to have your nut, your lock nut for it, and then you're going to have your decapping pin, and it's kind of a booger to get all fit in there, right? But once you get it, it goes pretty easy. Set it up, and it's ready to rock and roll. Catch it down here with your channel locks or your vice grips. Catch it up here with your crescent wrench and snug it down. You don't have to strip the threads tight, but get it good and tight. Then down here on your threaded portion of your knockout bolt or bar or whatever you want to call it, accepts your decapping pin, and you have a 1/4-20 nut that screws up here for a lock nut. Okay, so we install our lock nut onto the threaded portion, and we install our decapping punch on our threaded portion. Now what we want this to do, this is going to extend down, but we want this to be loose, loose adjustment, because we're going to have to do our next thing we put on here is our resizing barrel with a lock nut or a lock ring. And a resizing ring that resizes the brass on the shotgun shell. And this part gets adjusted kind of fairly specific. What you want to do is this will screw up. There's a threaded portion in the top of the press, and this screws up into it. Now when you bring this all the way down, as you can see, there's no gap here. I need at least about a 1/16 of an inch gap on there so that it can clear the extraction ring on the shells. So we take our scale and we screw our gap and we lock our lock ring down. Now that portion is adjusted and where it should be, but we still have to make another adjustment. I like to keep a high brass shell around so that I can adjust this long enough so that it will eject the high brass empty from the resizing ring. And the only way to find out if it'll do it or not is trial and error. So we screw this back up in here. Put our shotgun shell in there. Put our primer catch tray under here and run it down. Now if it ejects properly, and it did, then we know that we're sized about right. If it didn't, then we would have to screw this down or up. We'll screw it up so we get one to hang in there. Notice that didn't bring him all the way out. I had to pull it out. So you want to bring your punch out because that will eject your, there, it completely ejected it. Once that's made, then you'll want to take the barrel back off. You'll want to take your channel locks, again, holding on to your decapping punch and your 7/16 wrench, and lock it down. Put your resizing barrel back on, screw it up until it's snug, and you have station 1 set up. The next station in line is your repriming station. The repriming station again consists of a cup, has an internal punch, has a spring, and it has a heavy washer, or if you will, a donut that sits in there that the base of the shell rides on, and the punch punches the primer back up into the empty. You have your repriming punch, and in this case there's an extension, and you have a screw, and all there is to this station is basically just screwing it all together. And again, you use your channel lock pliers, hold on to it, and give it a good tight snug. And now station 1 and station 2 are set up. Station 3 is where your wad guide, your shot drop tube, your wad pressure indicator, and guide tube all go together. If you look here on this tube, you'll see marks that's marked along the marked along the barrel. Just through years of experience, I know that I want this to be, on this top ring here, you'll see it. I know that I want this to be right around the third line, even with this right here. This is just to get you close type of thing, and if you're using plastic one-piece wads, it's close enough, it'll do all the loading that you need to do. But if you're going to use fiber wads, you'll have to adjust this so you get the proper wad pressure, and you'll have to get your MEC book online to do that. I didn't study that up, honestly. I don't know of anybody that uses fiber wads anymore, so you really just don't need to worry about it. You get that where you want it, and there's a little Allen, or there's an Allen key screw here, a socket head cap screw, that tightens a clamp down that clamps that down. So you'll get out your Allen wrench, and this one I think is 5/32. It is, and you tighten that clamp down, which retains your shot drop tube and your and if you can see here on your loader, back in the old days when you was loading with fiber wads, this all together worked as a wad pressure gauge, and that you could use that to make sure that you had a correct volume of wad column in your shotgun shells. Today the plastic wads won't put any pressure on it, it won't move, and you'll never notice the difference on it, but that's what it was for back in the 60s. And on top of that, you have your drop tube that goes in there, and that make sure that the powder and the shot drops into your shotgun shell like it's supposed to. And next in line in this station is your wad guide. This wad guide is in two pieces, and it has the bottom and it has the top. Plastic ring goes in there, this goes in here, and it just screws together. Then you have your wad guides, and this station, your third station, is set up and ready to go. Next in line is then your fourth station, and it is your crimp start station. What goes on in here is you have a mounting bracket, a screw, and you either have an 8-point crimp starter or you have a 6-point crimp starter. And you'll set this up depending upon what shotgun shells that you intend to load. Your double A's, like this, are the 8-point crimp. Your Super X's, your Uplands, your Federals, they're all a 6-point crimp. So basically whatever you have the most of, you're going to want to set this up for that. Inside there, it says it's a 20 gauge ring, and it accepts. I'm going to start off on 8-point. So I'm going to put in my 8-point crimp starter into my ring like so. This is going to drop into the body like so, and if you look inside there, it should look like this. Then there's a washer that sits on top of that, and your base merely screws into it like this. Now once your loader is set up, you will not have any reason to take this base off. You'll just unscrew the body and change your crimp, and it's just as easy as anything else. It just sets in your fifth station. You take your screwdriver and you tighten it down, and you'll want to use your channel locks because you don't want it to come loose on you while you're loading. Hold it Just get it good and snug. And now we're set up on stations 1, 2, 3, and 4. Your fifth station is your final crimp station. And as you'll see here is a 1/2 inch hex nut. Well, actually it takes a 1/2 inch wrench. This you have to unscrew. The center punch drops down out of the way. When you get it like that, where that's dropped down out of the way, in the back of your press, you'll see a notch. This will line up with that notch, and your top punch, or your punch inside your final crimp die, will screw through the hole. You'll want to get something that you can stick in there to make sure that that pushes through. And when you get it set up here, you're going to need a small screwdriver that you can reach down through there, because the base of the press is threaded, and you're going to have to thread this. This last stage is kind of a bear to get lined up and get on there, but once you do, it'll be well worth your effort. Okay, that's there, it's snapped in. Now you have to screw this top punch up into your, make sure that your lock nut that's up here doesn't, really get in your way, and it's going to. Screw that down out of the way. And this top punch will thread into the press. There's a threaded hole there that'll thread into the press, and this is how you make your final crimp adjustments too. The distance that this is down, when we get to loading some here, it was how far in. Let me see if I can get some. These are 12 gauge shells, and the distance that punch is screwed down is the distance that this flat is. You should have a good recessed closed. Now, the adjustments here on your cam adjustment, here and here, if you're loading some shells and you notice that it's leaving a hole in the middle, you'll want to adjust this cam, either open or closed, till you get that hole to close up. And you want these to be good and straight. If you get too much, they'll be swirled, because what you're doing is you're adjusting where this rod hits this cam, and it will either close in this too much where it'll swirl that, or it won't close it in enough so that actually this outside of the shell will be flared, and that controls the flare or how much it closes up. So we've got it all put together with the exception of the shell plate, and that's just a really easy thing to put in. You lift up this spring and it shoves in like that, and then there's a screw that holds it down. And we have our loader set up to load 20 gauge shells, but we still have to make our adjustments, and to do that we actually do have to load shells. Adjusting your final crimp, you just have to, it's just a trial and error thing, and you just have to go through the steps to do it. Okay, we made our first stage, and as you can see, the punch is set way too deep, so I need to back it out. And to do that, you just take your screwdriver and your 1/2 wrench, back your punch out, snug it down with your 1/2 wrench, and let's load another shell. Now, as you can see, this time we didn't go deep enough. So that's actually a good mistake, because you can always make that one a little bit better. All we got to do is loosen our lock nut, take our screwdriver. I want to screw it down about 3/4 of a turn. Lock that back down. Hit it again. And as you can see, we're still not far enough, so give it some more. And I think our punch is good enough, but now I think we need to make a cam adjustment. And as I said before, we make our cam adjustments with our Allen screw. Right here. And we want to see what that does. And again, it's just playing with it until you get it right. Okay, as you can see, I backed my top punch out and I came out too far, but you can also see how the shell's closed up and it's swirled. That means I've gone too far here and I need to back off on my cam just a little bit. So we'll bring our cam up. Use your Allen wrench, loosen it up. Bring your cam up just a smidge, and it may take you a box or two of shells to get this dialed in. As I've said on other threads, I love MEC 600 Junior presses. They're fantastic, but they are boogers. to get set up and loading right. But once you get them there, they stay there and they make great shotgun shells. And I guess that's why I have so many of them. I have 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So okay, as you can see, I backed off too much because now there's a hole in the middle. So I need to set my cam adjustment again. And I think I need just a little more punch. And that's a lot better. I think just a little bit more on the cam to close that hole up a little bit, and I think we've about got it. So I'm going to tighten my punch retaining nut. Make one more small cam adjustment. And when we had to go to a 6-point crimp because I ran out of 8-point shells, that's getting a little bit better, but I'm still not happy with the hole that it's leaving. So, you know, you get the gist of it, and that's just pretty much the way it's done. So you keep fiddling with it till you get it right. Happy loading and happy shooting. We're done.